Hi everyone, I'm Teague,
And I'm Jen.
and we're from the travel website that'showIroam.com. And we thought we'd make a quick video just to give an introduction to our blog and kind of talk about what we're doing here and what we've done up until this point. So I'll start out by saying that Jen and I first started talking about travel back in 2010 when we first started dating. And back then those conversations were very casual in nature, in the sense that we just talked about it, and we talked about, wouldn't this be a nice thing to do? In those conversations, though, we kind of realized that travel was something that was something we were both interested in, but also we both realized that we kind of had an affinity for adventure, and we really wanted to do something big.
Right. So, kind of as Teague said, we both really like travel, both individually and, as we discovered, as a couple. But for me, travel was only something that I was able to really dream about. I had the opportunity to travel for a few weeks throughout Europe as a teenager, playing volleyball and doing some sightseeing, but that's all that it was. It was just a leisure trip. It was definitely not the adventure trip that we're talking about taking. And Teague, on the other hand, has done some backpack type traveling, but it was definitely on a much smaller scale and on a shorter term basis that he took these trips.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a trip that was, between 1 and 3 months at a time, and in all of those, they felt very tethered to my life back home, in the sense that when I left, I knew what I was coming back to. I knew when the trip was ending because I had my return tickets and all of that. But also, I knew that I was coming back to exactly what I left. So it really felt more like a really long vacation.
Right, and that's definitely the opposite of what we were talking about doing this time around. Jumping back to our first conversations, we didn't really have any of those serious talks about doing any long-term traveling. Now, fast forward to the summer of 2011, I was finishing up my bachelor's degree. Teague was settled into his career in workforce management for a very large company. We had just moved in together in downtown Rochester. We had just rented out the house that he owns in one of the suburbs of Rochester, so we were really on that kind of path when one summer night we were on our way up to his parents' cottage in upstate New York, and we kind of just started talking about the travel thing again, and it turned into a conversation that was, hey, let's take this long trip, let's do it.
Yeah, and it's funny because this started out like any one of our other conversations about travel, and that we were just kind of, daydreaming. Within about an hour, we quickly kind of put together some loose plans and made some commitments to actually make this happen.
Right, and at that point, it was still kind of hard to gauge just how serious either of us were about this trip. But within a few days, it definitely turned into, this is something that we're going to do, and we're going to do it no matter what.
Yeah, so jump forward 2.5 years from then, and we're at today, December 28th of 2013. And, we've been really busy during that time, really just cutting expenses, saving like crazy, and more than anything else, working our asses off. I've had 2 jobs, and Jen, you've had between 2 and 5 jobs, depending on the time. But while this has all been really enlightening, it's all been really hard work as well. I mean, it hasn't been easy for you, I'm sure.
No, it definitely hasn't. I mean, despite the fact that it will be extremely rewarding at the end of this 2 years that I've spent anyways paying down my student loans, at that time I will have had all of my loans paid off. So that in itself will be a really fulfilling and a really nice feeling. But along the way, in getting to that point, it has been tough, and it has been a challenge really transitioning our modes of thought and how we think about even just spending money, how we think about spending time, thinking about what is really important to us. So that's put a a higher value anyways on the time that we spend together and the time that we do spend with family. So it's definitely been a learning experience, and it has been tough, but it's all kind of a part of that adventure.
Yeah, and all that learning and hard work has gotten us to today, where we're, 93 days out from our departure date. And while that is still kind of a ways off, it's feeling much closer now because in only 13 days, we'll be moving out of the apartment to live with a few friends of ours and save on a couple of months of rent. But 13 days out from that point is kind of like that point when you first go skydiving and you're on the plane ride up, and then all of a sudden somebody opens the door and you're thinking to yourself, holy shit, I've actually got to go out there.
Right, and that whole ride up is the equivalent of spending 2 years talking about it, and talking about it is the easy part. It's easy to talk about wanting to go and travel, but as he said, that door has opened. Now the wind is kind of in your face and you can peek out and kind of see the ground. So now all of a sudden, now that it's time to move out of our apartment, it's getting really empty because we are selling everything and everything is nearly gone. So now it's real, and like he said, it's that time now where we're going to have to jump pretty much. So it can be a little bit frightening at times, but that's all really a part of the whole experience. And despite how scared you might be, knowing that I am going to leave everything that I know, I'm going to leave everything that's familiar, despite the fact that it is a little bit scary, that's all a part of this journey that we're taking and the adventure that we're on, knowing that that's just one step in the into the next chapter.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us to today. We're 13 weeks out. There's still a lot to do. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll be posting more videos here, kind of talking about those steps and really kind of giving you an idea of what we're doing as we make the transition from planning our trip to actually, being on our trip.
Yep. Yeah. So if you have any comments or questions for us, feel free to post those on the blog itself, or feel free to post them right here on our YouTube channel.
That's it for today.
See ya.
Bye.